Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. It's Ty, the LinkedIn guy here. And I know I didn't kind of schedule this, so I just thought I'd pop in. But what I want to talk about today is something that is really important. And that is your message syntax, the structure of when you're speaking to someone on LinkedIn. Because, guys, what I see happening all the time is that people are coming at LinkedIn thinking that just having a solution to your message, just having some templates is going to save you, is going to save your results and turn everything around. And we know it's just not the way it works. So I just want to go over a syntax that I use and has proven again and again and again to work across all industries. It works across all types of people. And in particular, where it's really, really powerful, I find, is when it's an owner-to-owner discussion. So many of you are business owners. Many of you maybe run a small business, or maybe you're a solopreneur. But it's about reaching out to the people in a way where they feel a genuine and authentic conversation. Okay, because what happens is, and let me know if this is you. You find that you send out these messages, and a couple of things happen. Either they just ignore you, right? They don't even respond back, or they respond back with like, "Thanks, not now," and it kind of stops there. Or you get into a conversation with someone and you're going back and forth, and you're feeling, wow, this is really great. I want to talk about my opportunity. I want to talk about my offer now. Well, when can I insert the salesy part? When can I start selling? And then suddenly the conversation goes quiet, right? And it just stops. And you kind of prompt again and nothing happens. And then you prompt again and nothing happens. Who does that happen to, right? That happens so often. I see those three outcomes: ignore, or thanks, not now, or the conversation, and it just stops. Just for some reason, it just stops. Now, the reason that's happening is twofold. One, they know, everyone knows. If you're on LinkedIn in particular and you're starting a discussion, it's going to go towards some type of sale. There's going to be some kind of offer mentioned, some kind of transformational opportunity that's made available. Everyone kind of knows that's coming. Okay. Now the key is getting there without being spammy and salesy, and without taking too much time of that prospect up. And what tends to happen is people wear out their welcome. They really do. Because you start off and you stay in that rapport and you ask those situational questions thinking, okay, I'm building rapport. Yep, they're answering back. And then they just go quiet. You've done your dash. And it's because you haven't really thought about when are you going to transition someone off? When is it appropriate to transition someone off? Now, I see some of these trainings that are out there where people give this cadence of like, send a message, wait 2 days, send this follow-up message, wait 3 days, send this message. Guys, that's not how we communicate in real life. It doesn't get results. If you have noticed, if you're doing that now, have you noticed how poor your results are? We're talking probably less than 5%, definitely less than 10%, are even getting into a discussion with you, are even starting a dialogue, because that's not how we communicate in real life. You've got to remember that, having someone's attention, that's the first step, right? And then you've got to hold it for at least a few minutes. Now, the problem is when you do this this manufactured send one message, send two, second message, send three message after, you're not grabbing their attention, you're not holding it, it's really, really temporary, and they're not paying attention. When you've reached out to someone on LinkedIn and you've tapped on their shoulder and they're paying attention to you, that is when you have the absolute most attention you'll ever have from them on LinkedIn. And the chance of them coming back and engaging with you later after that initial interaction is so small. That's the reality. That is the reality. So for many of you, when you do this outreach, it's kind of then or never. It really is. And I see that over and over and over again. And, prove me wrong. Because I don't see it happening where, you get the second, third, fourth bite at them. It rarely occurs. So what it means for you is that you have to have a syntax in place that you know when you're going to transition someone off, and you know when you're going to get there. And what I find is, if we take a kind of 30,000 foot view of it, the way that I like to take someone through a process, and I'm not going to give all the tactics, because that's what my coaching is all about, and that's what my clients pay for. But I can give you this overall kind of strategic view. And it really flows like this. Once, we start, it is that rapport building. Now, all this, let me preface this by saying, all this occurs within minutes. Okay? It's within minutes. This is not a process that you labor over for hours. This is not a process that you labor over for days and days and days. This occurs on initial contact. Because where marketers kind of fluff and give the rubbish stories like, build this relationship, give all this value first, and then people will buy from you. Guys, when you're doing outreach, organic outreach on LinkedIn, that is the fastest way to kind of get nowhere. Yeah, you actually have the most influence right then and there on that connection, because they're paying attention. You can see they're live, you can see that they're there, and it's not an issue of time. Time doesn't necessarily build that relationship and makes them buy. It's how you use that time. That is the differentiator. So if you do a great outreach and you have a great syntax, they are going to be on the hook. Right? And it's going to feel very genuine and very, very authentic. And the way I structure my outreach, it goes through a process of rapport building at the start. Now, in that rapport building, I'm using unity, I'm using humor, I'm using pattern interrupts that other people aren't currently using in LinkedIn, which is great, because I want people to see themselves in my messages. I want people to feel, wow, this person has taken a keen interest in me and are paying attention to me. And there's ways to do that quite rapidly. You don't have to do all these crafted, huge messages for each. You just don't need it. When you have a syntax like this, it works really well. So I go through rapport building, and as I said, it includes that humor, includes unity, especially if it's owner to owner, a discussion with another owner. I'm using that unity. Hey, I'm an owner, you're an owner. Come on, let's get down. That's what I'm using in my outreach. And in that rapport building, as I said, it's pattern interrupt. It's asking questions that are non-committal. It's crafting questions in a way where you don't have to make them look foolish if they don't answer, or if they answer very short kind of answers, right? You don't want to be asking questions about, what do you think the market's moving towards? These questions where they have to give a long explanation to not look foolish. Because the alternative to not looking foolish is just to ignore your question. And that's what happens. People will just ignore your question. So think about the questions that you're asking. Virtually a yes/no style of question, where it gives them an option to give a little bit more, but you're not forcing them to have to write a theory so they don't look stupid, especially for dealing with high, top tier service providers like lawyers or accountants or CPAs, for example. These guys are quite logical. These people don't want to look stupid in front of others. And if you're asking them questions where they have to commit a lot, you just don't have that relationship to get them to commit. And that's what it's about. If you're asking questions that require more commitment, it's just not there. But once you have that rapport, I then move into, I'm transitioning. I move into uncovering what that key pain point is. And I already know what they are. I'm working on particular avatars, and all my clients are working with particular avatars, and we study what are those key pain points, or what's those transformational opportunities that awaits. Right? And what we're doing is we're crafting messaging to dig out that pain point in a way where it's very natural to be asked, and they're willingly telling us about it. right? So that's the second phase of the syntax after that rapport, is then uncovering that pain point that exists. Yeah, and at that same time, we're also crafting any kind of questioning to size them up as that potential fit, in the sense of, have they just solved the problem? Are they addressing that problem right now? It's really important, because you don't want to waste your time when they say, yeah, actually, we just hired a CPA last week. Like, oh, awesome, after, going through all that dialogue. After that initial pain point discovery, it is then going into through questioning as well, again, and making statements and assumptive statements where you want them to actually say, actually, no, that's not true about us. In terms of, there's a solution, and my clients have worked on that solution. Is that something that you're working on? And that's going to, it's going to unnerve them, in the sense of that fear of missing out. Like, there's a solution to this problem? Wow, and you're solving that for someone else that's exactly like us? I want to know more about that, right? So we move into that phase of assumptive question, and then I'm showing that there is a possible solution for them, and I'm getting them to ask me about that. Right, my questioning is leading to that point of them asking, and when they're asking about that solution, you've got multiple choices of where to go. Then you either transition them out into a call, and I like a 2-step call. If someone is quite a busy practitioner, getting that first 10-15 minute call where you're going through a syntax again there, just to see if they have that problem, confirm they have that problem, show that you can solve that problem, and then getting permission to do a full-on meeting with them later, where you're getting permission to sell to them, essentially, right? And then you'll set that time up. So you've got a couple of choices. You either go into that kind of 2-step call, or if your funnel is to do a full-on discovery and they're available, you take them off into that. Or maybe you're putting them into your funnel. Maybe you have a webinar. Maybe you have a part of your funnel is to kind of educate them more before they get on a call. Like, I genuinely want people to have watched my webinar, have seen some stuff about me before they get onto a call. So on LinkedIn, I often transition someone from that rapport to the discovery of the problem, to seeing if they're a fit for me, to providing that there's a solution, having them ask me about that solution. I then, in most cases, will put them into a webinar. Again, I want them to be educated and see if there's that that fit there. And I also want them to jump through a few hoops. I know it means like maybe I lose clients, but out the other end of that webinar, if they've come from that LinkedIn, there's a good 25-30% chance that they'll actually then get on a call with me. Now, yes, I could transition earlier and probably take them straight to a call, but then I find I've got to then, after that, it's the follow-up. It's like, okay, now why don't you watch this? Why don't you do that? I prefer it the other way around. It just works. It works for me. But that's your choice, is where do you transition them off? Now, that message stream, literally, that's minutes. That's not days. That's not done over hours and hours. If you've got someone that literally can go from first connection, especially when they look back and they see your profile looking absolutely amazing, a client-facing profile that doesn't look like a resume, one that talks to them, one that talks to their pain points, one that shows that you understand the pain that they're in, and you get it, and you have a solution, and it shows what other people think about you, and it shows the expected outcome. When you have all that together, that messaging is really, really powerful. And then it's very formulaic. I follow it every time I go into those discussions. So it's formulaic on my side, but for them, it's very genuine, very authentic. And it is. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm not interested. I am interested in helping these people because, I've got a solution that works and I can make money from it. I want to make money for what I do, of course. But I also know that when someone comes to me and I can help them, then that it's going to be transformational for their business. But for me, as I said, there it is formulaic. I'm not going in every time thinking like, okay, how am I going to do this one? How am I going to move someone through? How am I going to avoid staying in that friend zone and getting to the sales part? It's really important. So every time I go in, I have that process, and I'm just going down it, dung, 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 step by step by step, and it's done within minutes. And then I can move on, or continue on with that person. I'm not staying in those back and forth situational questions where, you're kind of like sensing, oh, should I ask now? Do I? None of that, right? And that's where I see a lot of people, they'll stay in that part of a conversation. They'll stay in situational questions and they never get past that. And essentially all you've done is stay in rapport, or you've just stayed, you've kept in the rapport phase of a conversation. And then maybe you might try coming back a day later or 2 days later, and then you wonder why they're quiet. You're kind of worn out your welcome. You just have, because they know. And especially, again, if you are targeting certain individuals, if you are staying within an avatar, a niche that you specialize in, you're reaching out to the same people. They have the same kind of problems. You'll see that over and over again in your industry. And when you know your industry, they've got the same kind of problems. They have the same objections. They have the same myths about your services. That can all be addressed when you follow that kind of syntax. And instead of staying paused, you're leading this person through a conversation and a dialogue, and out the other end is an appointment with them, is a sales call. And that's where you get to do your pitch. That's where you get to do your discovery and really find out if they're a match for you. So anyway, guys, that's the syntax that I highly recommend. If you have any questions, just drop them below and I will answer. All right, guys, hope that helps. See you later.